students, welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. My name is Mbithe, and in this session, we are going to continue with part 2 of note-taking. In part 1, we learned about, we defined what note-taking is, we differentiated between note-taking and note-making, and we also looked at a few guidelines to help us before a lesson, during a lesson, and after a lesson on how to effectively prepare to take notes. So in this session, which is the part 2, we will have a look at different ways in which we can take notes, different patterns that we can follow when note taking. So when you're taking notes, it is important to ensure that whatever it is that you write, whatever it is that you record is accurate. Remember, note-taking happens as you are listening to the speaker. So you are listening and writing at the same time. So ensure that everything that you write is accurate. And there are a few ways or a few things you can do to ensure that whatever it is that you write is accurate. Number one is thinking about what you wish to get out of what you have listened to. And then only write what is important. Maybe you are listening to a talk. Somebody is giving a talk on careers and specifically the career that you wish to pursue. So listen to what's important. Maybe how to curate your CV to fit that career, what schools to attend, what courses to take for you to get into that career, what fields you can work in when you do that career. So what is important to you? Ensure you write it down. If it is a lesson, ensure maybe you write down the definitions. If it's something that has formulas, you write down the formulas. So ensure you record and capture everything that is important. Secondly, looking for answers to the questions that you may have about the topic. So remember we said in the previous video that before the lesson or before the talk, it is important to do some research. So let's say you've done your research, and in the process of doing your research, you have a few questions and you've written them down. So during this talk or this lesson, try and see if those questions will be answered. And if they're answered, you write down the answers. Looking for connections within the topic as well as to other topics relevant to the one in focus. So let's say it is a class and you're learning about uncountable nouns and you previously learned about countable nouns. So you can go back to that first lesson on countable nouns and peruse through it and see if it is related to uncountable nouns and try to make a connection or create a connection. That helps you understand better and grasp the concept better. And lastly, weighing the information for relevance. So after you've written down, see if whatever you have written is relevant to you. Because maybe it is a career talk and maybe they're talking about the banking industry, and maybe that is not a career that you'd wish to pursue, so it may not be very relevant to you. So when they are talking about the nitty-gritties of where to work, what to study, that may not be relevant to you because that is not the career that you want to pursue. So as you're taking notes, also weigh what the speaker is saying, weigh what is relevant, and have it written down. So what are some features or some characteristics of good notes? Number one is that they should be brief. Remember, they are notes, they are not composition. It is notes. You are writing down only what is important. So ensure they are as brief as possible because you also want to spend less time writing and more time listening to the speaker. Number two, have abbreviations and short forms where necessary. So maybe instead of writing, for example, you can write e.g. Instead of writing school, you can write the abbreviation, which is SCH. However, not everything can be put in abbreviations. For example, formulas, you have to write the full formula as it is. So also use abbreviations and short forms only where necessary. And also make sure they are abbreviations that you understand, that if you go back to those notes later in the day, you understand what EG means, you understand what SCH means. So also use abbreviations that you know and understand. Another characteristic of good notes is that they are numbered or in bullet forms. So number your notes, like number 1 is the main point, like that. And you can use either numbers or bullets, whatever pleases you. Another thing is that good notes have main points and supporting points. So maybe you are taking notes on countable nouns. A main point can be the definition of countable nouns, that can be the main points, and then the examples of countable nouns can be the supporting points, because the example now makes you understand the meaning, the definition. Lastly, good notes are legible and well spaced. So ensure your handwriting is legible. You can read what you have written and it is well spaced, such that if somebody else were to read the notes, they can understand because they can see clearly, and it is also well spaced. So are you there and you have ever struggled with taking notes? These are a few scenarios of some problems or some struggles we may encounter when taking notes and their possible solutions. So we are going to look at them one by one and you can see if you relate. Does your mind wander, or do you get bored easily when listening to an oral presentation? Try sitting at the front of the room and focus your attention to the speaker. So for example, once you start writing notes, you get bored or you get distracted in your thoughts, so you are unable to take notes well. Maybe you can try the next time you're in a lesson, the next time you're in a talk, to sit at the front, somewhere at the front, and focus your attention on the speaker. Try as much as possible to focus your attention on the speaker. Don't be distracted. Don't sit near the door because you'll be distracted to people outside or near the window. Sit at the front and focus on the speaker and see if that helps. Problem number 2. Do you feel that the presenter talks too fast? Try using abbreviations and symbols as you write. Remember, you're taking notes during the class or during the presentation. So you're listening and you're writing at the same time. And that can cause you to feel like the speaker is speaking too fast. So remember, we talked about abbreviations. Where necessary, use abbreviations and short forms or symbols. That saves you time. Does everything said by the presenter seem important? Practice the skill of identifying main points and do a proper preview of the topic beforehand. So before you go into this presentation, have some research that maybe that can be reading books, magazine, the internet, and then that can help you identify the main points, maybe definition, characteristics, features, examples. So those are like the main points. So that helps you pick out what is the most important and you write it down. And lastly, does the spelling of technical jargon pose a challenge? Spell out the jargon according to what you hear and then correct it later. Maybe the speaker or the teacher says the word whose spelling you're not sure. So just write what you hear. But after that, research the correct spelling, find the meaning and correct it. Remember to correct whatever it is that you had written. So there are two ways or two formats you can use when taking notes. Number 1 is the linear notes. This is where the normal writing of notes in a book or in a paper. You use a heading, a subheading where necessary, and numbers or bullets. So you can see the example there. There's the date, 12th December 2014, and then the heading, which is responsible road use. And then there's a subheading written, meaning. So that's like the definition, which is written, being cautious and alert while on the road. Subheading number 2, why drive responsibly? Number 1, to obey the law to prevent accidents. Benefits of driving responsibly: fewer road accidents, less loss of life. And then we have the conclusion, we all have a role to play. When you look at this sample of linear notes, you realize that the notes are very brief. They are grammatically correct, but they are brief. So you see, like in the first one where we are talking about the meaning, being cautious and alert while on the road. Instead of writing responsible road use means being cautious, you just write meaning and then being cautious and alert while on the road. When you look at these notes as well, you can see they have the subhead, the heading and then the subheadings, and very few points that are in point form. The other way you can take notes is the spidergrams. From the word spider, it's like you form a web. So they are web-like diagrams that one can use to show connections between various ideas. This can be ideal maybe for a talk on careers. You can have the word careers and then examples and then where to work and so on. So the example here, our main topic or our main focus is HIV and AIDS. And then you can see to the left, there's a line that connects to management and another one that connects to prevention. And then from management, there's one that connects to good diet. And then for prevention, there are 2, blood screening, prenatal care. So this is just a sample, it is not complete. So this is another way of taking notes. So notes have, when you're taking notes, you're very brief. So just from this diagram, if you're asked to make notes is when you can now go into the details. So that's it for this session. I hope you have understood and you're now able to effectively take notes and notes that you can also understand in future. For further practice, you can have a look at the quiz and attempt it. The Dean of Studies of your dream university has given a talk to your class about choosing careers. Write down the main points using spidergrams. Thank you for tuning in and see you in the next session.